Let's execute an immediate, high-gear tactical vector shift away from contemporary independent bookstores, small-town book clubs, and modern domestic recovery systems, and step directly onto the brutal, dust-choked, calculation-heavy tracking grids of mid-19th century Western migration, high-stakes overland survival tradecraft, and high-frequency frontier defense arrays. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored wagon trains, hostile territories, and unforgiving geographical corridors of the historic Oregon Trail, with Where the Lost Wander, the exceptional, rapid-pulsing, epic historical masterpiece by the absolute undisputed sovereign of deeply emotional, raw frontier fiction, Amy Harmon. This high-stakes deployment delivers a thrilling, deeply volatile exploration of weaponized natural elements, indigenous cultural collision metrics, and absolute multi-partner or solo survival matrices colliding at terminal velocity on the American plains. Let's lay out the strategic narrative grid. If you are a fan of high-octane, deeply moving historical thrillers where a fierce, hyper-focused heroine must navigate an absolute maze of sudden cholera outbreak hazards, brutal wagon axle mechanics, and severe environment-driven logistical bottlenecks while running a blind survival loop inside an overland company, where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, landscape scouting tradecraft, and absolute physical stamina to outmaneuver sudden mortality vectors, and where the author utilizes an incandescent forbidden frontier alliances tested by extreme tragedy diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural survival perimeters, this book is engineered to lock you in. Harmon completely dominates the historical reclamation noir dynamic, capturing the heart-racing emotional momentum, raw physical friction, and crushing wilderness isolation popularized by genre vargs like Kristen Hanna, Paulette Giles, Taylor Jenkins Reid, and Sarah Donati, while treating high-level livestock management logistics, heavy tribal diplomacy tradecraft, and protective wagon circle defense grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on our central protagonist axis, a masterfully calculated alignment between Naomi May, a fiercely resilient young widow operating under a strict calculation-heavy survival routine to protect her family caravan, and John Lowry, a brilliant Half-Pawnee tracker whose entire lifestyle is built around running absolute, unyielding environmental diagnostics and terrain mapping maneuvers for the wagon train. Our heroine is the ultimate blueprint of frontier resilience, keeping her inner world locked down tight behind her sketchpads while monitoring incoming terrain updates, parsing complex river crossing hazards, and shielding her siblings from being entirely deleted by the brutal realities of the trail. Her workspace is a highly monitored ecosystem of endless dust clouds, deep river currents, and volatile camp press pools. The spark ignites when her active scanning perimeter registers a devastating structural anomaly, an unexpected massive escalation in regional tribal tensions, and escalating disease statistics that completely flatlines the company's internal safety net. As the raw, unchecked tension of the untamed plains threaten to pull down their structural defense perimeters, an active tracking sequence engages. The frontier boundaries crumble, and our protagonist duo run completely out of standard civilian-civilian escape vectors. John Lowry becomes her definitive defensive anchor, his entire routine consumed by managing his split cultural allegiances, tracking physical threat metrics to the caravan, and using his deep tracking tradecraft to keep Naomi pinned beneath his unyielding protective canopy. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their geographical and survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the pristine Oregon Trail into a volatile emotional pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our veteran survivalist duo is forced to deploy their massive intuitive tradecraft, environmental mapping skills, and raw physical stamina to maintain their perimeters before the unforgiving landscape. When deceptive trail guides, hostile raider splinters, and calculation-heavy weather algorithms launch aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress their journey, their survival instincts engage their final deployment tracks. Every midnight scout report over campfires, every silent choice to let their physical proximity breach standard boundaries behind closed canvas flaps, and every intense moment of channeling their deep mutual obsession to withstand the external pressure chips away at their reliance on original defensive rules. What follows is an exceptional, high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Frontier Empire's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as Harmon reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an overland crossing or fixing a broken wheel. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of the beautiful, hard-earned sanctuary they are building together. While our central duo smooths over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, a brutal series of indigenous confrontations and high-stakes environmental trials shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that external hazards have tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure their future, our resilient pair must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of their dark, undeniable bond.
It is an epic historical fiction, Western wilderness thriller, frontier action drama, high-velocity survival romance masterpiece that treats deep historical logistics and intense emotional friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one uncontrolled step off the trail triggers a fatal scandal energy, where a sudden pause in a dark riverbed corridor, an unexpected shift in your partner's protective physical posture during a sudden tribal standoff, or a heavy, possessive realization that the rugged tracker has completely mapped your personal vulnerabilities carries massive structural weight. Harmon writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the cold, metallic hum of iron wagon rims, the oppressive, heavy atmosphere of a packed prairie storm, and the distinct, subtle scent of canvas, expensive tobacco, sagebrush, river water, horse sweat, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this historical novel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance realistic pioneer travel mechanics and genuine high-stakes cultural intrigue alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep conceptual hooks. Our protagonist duo doesn't rely on unbelievable superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound protective instincts match the complexity of the chaotic Western underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking personal breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to their horizon. Where the Lost Wander is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes historical fiction and raw epic romance library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unput-totable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating environmental monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, embrace your deepest survival instincts, and fight like hell alongside your partner to rewrite the data. So, secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the trail.